Hello friends, your old pal Murray Rothbard here again to talk to you today about some bullshit that's in the media about hacking. Okay, so this is principally, I'm going to talk to you about this ridiculous story that was in the New York Times called U.S. Spies Seeking to Retrieve Cyber Weapons Paid Russia for Peddling Trump Secrets. So this is a story, I'm not sure about what the purpose or point of the story is, because it is containing a lot of things that are just not possible. So obviously some other attempt at communication is going on here. I don't know, to me the most likely reason for the story is to try to make it look like the CIA is not actually the very partisan organization that we know it is today, involved in a possible coup of the fairly elected president of the United States. By the way, disclaimer here, I'm an anarchist. I don't vote. I didn't vote for Donald Trump or anyone. It's all rigged. That being said, let's go on and talk about this article about the cyber weapons being stolen. And the article's pretty short, but I took the trouble of reading it for you, and I'm going to try to give you a little interpretation. All right, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the article is very unclear for people that aren't informed about what Vault 7 and Vault 8 were at WikiLeaks and what the things were that were stolen. They're unclear. They're unclear on whether they're just trying to get information on what is stolen. Unlikely. It'd be an easier way to do that. Or they're actually trying to collect the cyber weapons, which is a ridiculous idea, which is just common sense, and we'll explain in a minute. But so the first thing, let's look at what they're saying about the this fraud actually that they were involved in, and you can decide who's benefiting from this fraud for yourself. The cash delivered in a suitcase in a Berlin hotel room in September was intended to be the first installment of $1 million payout, according to American officials and Russian communications reviewed by the New York Times. The theft of the secret hacking tools has been devastating to the NSA, and the agency was struggling to get an inventory of what was missing. The New York Times wrote an article earlier on on these hacking tools, and they basically said it's the worst case scenario when they have no idea of the impact this is going to have, because there's already been a worldwide hacking going on due to this. So the cash delivered in a suitcase to our Berlin hotel in September was intended to be the first installment of $1 million payout, according to American officials. The Russian communications reviewed by the New York Times. The theft of the secret hacking tools has been devastating to the NSA. Before the Americans were negotiating with the Russians, they were trying to deal with a hacker in Vienna known only to intelligence officials as Carlo. Nice code name, buddy. In early 2017, he offered to provide them with a full set of hacking tools and that were in the hands of the shadow brokers and the names of the people in his network, American officials said. Let's quickly review what WikiLeaks Vault 7 and Vault 8 are. Okay, so first of all, these are two different releases from WikiLeaks. The first one was basically an explanation of programs that the NSA was involved in, and manuals. They published some manuals for some of these things. No code was published at that particular point. But it explained the reason no code was published because they were talking about zero-day exploits. Okay, zero-day exploits are things that programmers are not prepared for. They have 0 days to prepare for it. All of a sudden, there's this hole exposed in their application. They have to patch immediately. And so no one knows about these things. Apparently, NSA had stockpiled thousands of these zero-day exploits for all kinds of devices. So I'm going to read this because it's important for you to understand. And you can go read it yourself if you just Google or whatever search engine you would like to use. I suggest another one. Search CIA and WikiLeaks Vault 7. You'll get this page right here. Today, Tuesday, March 7th, 2017, the WikiLeaks began its new series of leaks to the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, codenamed Vault 7 by WikiLeaks. It is the largest ever publication at the time of confidential documents on the agency. The first full part of the series, Year Zero, compromises 8,761 documents and files from an isolated high-security network situated inside of the CIA's Center for Cyber Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. It follows an introductory disclosure last month of the CIA targeting French political parties and candidates in the lead up to the 2012 election. They were interfering in the French election is what that meant. I didn't read it very well. So what I'm going to go back over, though, is the first full part of this series is these 8,000, so almost 9,000 documents from an isolated high security network situated inside the CIA. So let me explain to you what that means, people. Isolated networks are the only ones that are actually secure, okay? If you have a network that is connected to the internet, it is not secure. All right? Because there are these exploits, these known unknowns that they cannot control. So that is the rule number one. So one must ask, how do these tools, these cyber hacking tools, get from an isolated NSA network to the shadow brokers on the dark web? And how do they get dispersed to people to buy now, which is what's going on, okay? This is very bad. This whole story is an attempt to get you some information in your head programmed about how the CIA isn't biased towards Donald Trump. It totally glosses over what the real problem is here. They're trying to get back, supposedly the purpose of the story is, they're trying to get back these tools. Look, people, you can't recover digital tools, okay? No one can deliver you files of digital tools. That's why the first part of the article, where they're talking about negotiating to get some idea of what was stolen, is, that's a little more accurate maybe. But the problem is, there's no need in any of that bullshit, okay? These things are for sale, people. These guys are supposed to be spies. Why don't they go buy the stuff and see what's been revealed, okay? They should be able to work to the very top levels. These guys, the problem is, and if you go and do a little more research on this Vault 7 and Vault 8 stuff from WikiLeaks, you'll see that the reason they published it was on the dark web for over a year. All these tools being offered for sale. And still no disclosure from the government that this was going on. So they published the manuals. Said, hey, look, this stuff's real, man. These are manuals for this stuff. This is some deep information here. Still nothing. No acknowledgement from the government. So then they went to Vault 8 and published the actual codes. You can see this is for real, no joke. None of the exploits they did that particular exposure were zero-day exploits because they know what they're doing. They're not trying to hurt people. But what they're been trying to tell us, what Julian Assange, the hero of our time, has been trying to tell us is these people have been more than careless. This is criminal. You can't take money from us via taxes without any consultation whatsoever with Congress. One would hope, because if these guys know about this, they're criminals too. The Congress knows about this. Take our money and build, who knows how much money they spent to build these tools, these weapons that can easily be proliferated, which is very dangerous. But then they actually let them get out into the wild on the internet. Now, nefarious people, the shadow brokers, nice name, huh? The shadow brokers have this information, this material, and they have been selling on the web, on the dark web, for a couple of years now. So supposedly the point of this story is that the NSA and their people are traveling over to Berlin, must be nice, and trying to hunt down this material so they can get it back. There is no getting it back. It's like a Pandora's box. You can't get it back. If they want to know what it is, they should just go buy it like any other criminal would do. All right? I'll go on and read a little bit more of this. Because it gets into this is what they're trying to sell you right here. American spies are not the only ones. I'm just taking excerpts from this article. You can go read it for yourself at the New York Times website. American spies are not the only ones that have dealt with the Russians claiming to have secrets to sell. Cody Shearer, Democratic operative. Cody Shearer, an American political operative. He's a Democratic operative with ties to the Democratic Party, has been crisscrossing. He doesn't have ties, he works for them. Crisscrossing Europe for more than 6 months to secure their purported compromise. They love using that word. Makes it seem real, from a different Russian They're completely different Russian, I'm sure. So apparently there's just a whole bunch of Russians, you'll see when I get to the end of this, just going around Europe trying to peddle this shit to the NSA and any Democrat who will buy it, because they know they will. They're scammers, they're fraudsters, and they're trying to take advantage of these people, and us for that matter. And the FBI paid for some of this stuff, okay? I shouldn't use the word bullshit so much, maybe. Okay, so it's trying to get compromise from these different people, from these different Russians, said people familiar with the efforts. What does that even mean? It says there's no information there at all. There's no facts. Speaking on the condition of anonymity to avoid damaging the information with Cody Shearer. Reached by phone last year, Mr. Shearer would only say that this guy's been working this a long time. His work has been a big deal. And you know what it is, and you shouldn't be asking about it. Then he hung up. That's literally what it says in the story. Go read for yourself. By last April appeal, the deal was imminent. Several CIA officers were even traveled from the agency's headquarters to help the agency's Berlin station handle the operation. So they're just traveling to Europe on a whim to chase some material they can't even possibly recover. And if they want to know, they can just go buy what it is that they let go. First of all, they're the ones that built it. How could they not know? And if they're not sure what actually was compromised in this operation, whatever it is, I believe it's an inside job, obviously, then they could just go buy it from these people who are trying to sell it. The problem was, and the way these manuals got on the internet was, the shadow brokers, as they're called, put the manuals on the internet in some sample code, and no one would buy it. People couldn't believe that anyone actually had these tools. They were that powerful. The claims were outlandish to people. So they started publishing more and more of the code. Finally, WikiLeaks published the manuals just to show you this is going on, and the NSA is still hiding that this even happened. Believe me, they knew. They knew years ago this happened, okay? When it happened, they knew, because they monitor the dark web, or so we're told. So I'll go on right now. Reached by phone, let's say within days, yes. They traveled from the agency's headquarters to help the agency's Berlin station handle the operation. Within days, though, the deal turned sour. American intelligence agency determined that the data was genuinely from the shadow brokers, but it was material the group had already made public. As a result, the CIA said it would not pay for it, the American officials said. That means these guys don't work for the shadow brokers, don't know them, they're just scammers who were looking on the internet where anyone else could look and get this data. They're just trying to scam them. They got them for $100K of our tax money. Within days, though, the deal turned sour. Okay, a few weeks later, the Russians began handing over data, but in multiple deliveries, real spycraft. In October and December, almost all, so when Trump was already elected, they're still trying to do this bullshit. Almost all of what he was delivering was related to the 2016 election. So it's just bull, man. So it's not, let's see, it's related to the 2016 election. I'm sorry, I've lost my place. And alleged ties between Trump associates and Russia, not the NSA or CIA hacking tools. Both the NSA and CIA have lost hacking tools. That's what they're telling you here. Why do we pay for this stuff? Why are these people claiming to be experts? Why are they claiming to be helping us in securing our nation when they're actually just proliferating weapons like idiot nuclear scientists did back in the 50s and 40s? All right? So Mr. Shearer's efforts grew out of the work first began during the 2016 campaign when he compiled a pair of reports like the dossier, also included talk of a video, not the video, just talk of it, and Russian payoffs to Trump associates. It is not clear what, if anything, Mr. Shearer has been able to purchase. These are just frauds. This has been going on for much time now, long time, over a year. These people have been working even longer to try to get this information. Where is it? It's not available. They're sick. They're delusional. They're obsessed with this. In December, excuse me, the Russian said he told an American intermediary that he was providing the Trump material and holding out on the hacking tools at the orders of senior Russian intelligence officials. Right. Earlier this year, the Americans gave him one last chance. They're trying to buy something that they built. Why? Earlier this year, the Russians gave him one last chance. The Russian again showed up with nothing more than excuses. So the Americans offered him a choice. They offered him the old ultimatum. Start working with us and provide names of everyone in your network, or go back to Russia and do not return. The Russian did not. Maybe they'll lock him in an embassy, huh? The Russian did not give it much thought. He took a sip of his cranberry juice that he was nursing, picked up his bag and said, "Thank you," and walked out the door. In exchange, he wanted immunity for prosecution in the United States. Yeah. It's like Uma Abedin and Cheryl Mills and all the associates of Hillary Clinton. They want immunity. You only want immunity if you've committed a crime. Okay? The crime that was committed here was the bilking of the American taxpayer. That's the real crime. The bilking of the American taxpayer in building these horrific cyber weapons that do everything and break into every device known to man. I detailed this in another video, and you can go do the research for yourself. There's no router, there's no switch, there's no smart TV, no computer, no device that you can come up with that isn't hacked already. There isn't already a backdoor or a zero-day exploit. The NSA and the CIA lost these tools that we paid billions for and are terribly dangerous on the internet. All right? These networks shouldn't even be connected to the internet where these tools are housed. They built manuals on how to use these tools. They even built tools to make your hack and your malware that you make with their kits look like it was done by Russians or North Koreans or Chinese or Brazilians or whoever they want to. So there's no way to even attribute these tools to any one of these hacks to anyone anymore. All right? This is all bull. This article, I don't know what they're talking about. There's no way to recover digital tools like this once they're out in the internet. You just make copies of them. You can distribute them by email, by Twitter, by any way. By the way, it says in this article that the NSA uses their Twitter account to communicate secret information to operatives. Look, man, I'm tired of paying for this. I don't consent to any of this stuff. They're mishandling this stuff. If they're experts in anything, I can't see it. They're just a bunch of blowhards with a bunch of high-end educations. I know welders and pipe fitters that could do a better job of securing this material than these folks have. With all their security prowess and all their networking ability and all their IT skills. This is ridiculous. This article is some type of fake news. This is typical of the Mockingbird media, where they insert stories deliberately given to them by the CIA to portray the CIA and the NSA as a particular type of organization, a revered institution, as they like to call themselves. I'm tired of it, and I hope you are too. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this video. It's very complicated information in a way, if you're not used to hearing it or knowing about it. And I'm just trying to give you a little insight into it. And one of the tools that these guys use in controlling us with their ridiculous mind control programs is just giving you just blizzards of information and doing so many things that you can't, everything sounds like a conspiracy theory after a while, you know? But I guarantee you, if you go do some research on Vault 7 and Vault 8, you will see this article in the New York Times is pure D lies. It's intended to give you a particular impression of the CIA and NSA and feel sorry for them. And like they're not trying to bring down the president. And they clearly are. They spent a lot of time on this. They did a lot of fun travel to Europe. And I'm sick of paying for it. Thank you very much.